for preterite tense, which we've already covered, what we're going to do today is review everything that you've already known about preterite tense. Then we're going to start adding this week a few more things that are irregular about it. But know that our goal is by the end of next week, so not this Friday, but next Friday, we're going to have a test over anything and everything that you've ever known about preterite. So it's not just the new stuff that we're going to learn. It's going to be everything together. That's why we're coming back and making sure that you're okay with all of it. So preterite tense, obviously past tense. We've learned two past tenses. This one only happens usually one time for the imperfect, which we talked about before break. That's the one that happens many times, and there's all the other reasons for it. Okay. All right, what are your conjugations or endings for AR verbs in the preterite for regular verbs? And jot down your asteis for your vosotros. Always good to have as a reference. But aste, o, amos, aron, accents very clear. You should always have them in the yo form and the ed, sed form for anything to do with regular preterite. Okay. Notice that, again, I put your subject pronouns off to the side, but those should be understood at this point. I'm sure you know what they go with. That for nosotros it can be somebody and I. And therefore, technically when you have somebody y tú, it technically should be the vosotros form because that's the informal you. But we substitute it with ustedes because that's what we use instead. All right. Also a little note about the first person plural, which is a fancy word for what? Fancy grammar terminology for right, nosotros. The AMOS is the same in the present tense and preterite. Okay, just happens to be so use context clues to let you know the difference. Okay. All right, so that's AR. For ER, IR, what happens? Good, and careful that it's I. I, iste, yo, imos, and yeron, or it sounds like the E there. So I with an accent, and then I-O with the accent on the O on that one. Again, anything to do with regular preterite, you should always remember accents on the O form and the AO-sted form. Okay. But those are your regular endings. Now, a common mistake that happens with preterite is that normally for present tense, we have two endings for the nosotros form. For preterite, we only have one for the nosotros form. So it's IMOS. There is no EMOS in the preterite. It does not exist. Okay. No EMOS whatsoever. Okay. So same exact endings. EMOS does not exist in the preterite. EMOS and IMOS is only for present tense. Just a note about that. Okay, so that's for your list. Same list we've been using since Spanish 1. Regular verbs. Then for cargar verbs, something extra we need to remember about in the preterite or past tense. Verbs that end in CAR, GAR, or ZAR have a special ending, but only in what form? Only in the yo form. Okay. So car verbs like practicar, tocar, buscar, sacar, explicar change to QUE with an accent over that E because your normal accent over for AR verbs, obviously notice these are all AR verbs here. Your E normally has an accent, so the ending will also get an accent. So you're technically changing the C, A to QU there. But QE, drop the three letters CAR, replace it with QE only for the yo form. For gar verbs like jugar, llegar, pagar, navegar, etc., you replace GUE, drop the three letters and replace it with three letters. Don't forget your accent, again, only the yo form. And for ZAR verbs that end in ZAR, you're going to drop these three letters, but you're only going to replace it with CE. So only replace it with two. Again, with an accent only for the yo form. Sorry?
I was going to ask if there was an accent.
Yeah, accent on all three of them. For que and ge, you don't hear that U sound at all. They're seen as combination letters, so you only hear one sound. And we'll talk more about this combination thing here in just a second. Some rules that we've talked about in the past apply sometimes, but don't others because of this QU and GU combo, because you don't hear that U at all. Okay. All right, some key words that we talked about in the preterite that tells you that it's preterite tense. What is anoche? Last night. Good. What is la semana pasada?
Last week.
Good. Technically the week that has passed, but we don't say that. So just know that pasado or pasada does not mean last by itself. What about ayer? Good. What about año pasado? last year. Again, the year that has passed. The pasado o pasada, you have to make agree with whatever the word is, feminine or masculine. So gender has to agree with that word. And it does not mean last. Anteayer,
Also, before yesterday.
the day before yesterday. So ayer yesterday, anteayer before, basically. Remember, the word antes means before. So before yesterday is the day before yesterday. And then el mes pasado would be last month. Good. And technically, this next one can go with present or preterite, depending on context clues, and kind of have to have more of the conversation than just the sentence. But normally, if you're talking about esta mañana, if you're talking about this morning, something has already happened. But you can say this morning we're going to go to second period, and obviously it hasn't happened yet. All right. Those are some keywords that tell you that things are in the preterite tense. Couple other things. I wanted to more focus on other, how do I say this, on things that I needed us to kind of pinpoint more in the preterite. That's why I filled in the rest of your notes with this stuff. But if you want to jot down kind of in this middle section where we have some room, you have ir and ser, which are also irregular in the preterite. Remember, they share the same box in the preterite. Remember those conjugations? Fui, fuiste, fue, fuimos, and fueron. Okay, and we had that one in our sponge yesterday for the verb to go. Said share the same box. Hacer, also irregular in the preterite. Your stem, technically, and this is the family of verbs we're going to talk about this chapter, are going to be verbs that are similar to hacer. Hacer changes to H-I-C, so don't think of it as an A to I change. Okay? Because the el usted form changes to H-I-Z. Okay? All of them that we're going to talk about this chapter all have one change. For some reason, hacer likes to be special. Have two changes. Okay? So I said H-I-C for all of them except for H-I-Z. And then notice that your endings for the yo form and the el usted form are different than endings that you would use regularly. Okay? So the iste, imos, and yeron are regular ER endings. These, the E and the O, ise and izo, are technically AR endings with no accents. Does that make sense? Okay. So for I said, ise, hiciste, hizo, hicimos, hicieron. So that's up until your irregulars that we learned, that we did a chapter over.